Hi, Jimmy Johnson here in the Patriot League Network studio, and I'm joined now by Army men's lacrosse senior Bennett Taylor. He's right now in his home in Tampa, Florida. I imagine reading a lot of books as you're quarantined right now, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah, a lot of time, which is nice.
Well, thank you for taking the time out to join us today. Speaking of literature, a couple summers ago, after your freshman year, you spent time in Italy. Now, most people go to Italy to tour the sites, maybe get a photo of the Leaning Tower of Pisa and hold it up, but you spent time studying American authors and the impact on their writing from when they spent time in Italy. I guess, can you talk a little bit about that trip, what you got from it, what you learned from it, what were your best experiences?
Certainly, yeah. Well, West Point has a great extracurricular program, so I got the opportunity with a couple of my fellow classmates and one of my English teachers, and we traveled to Rome and Florence to a bunch of different sites, like the Vatican, the Duomo, sort of those touristy sites that we all sort of get a picture of. But we did a lot of reflection and a lot of writing, and sort of how American authors were inspired by European architecture, European culture, and everything, and we used that to sort of frame a piece of writing that we turned in for our teacher, and it was a great experience for me. It was my first time in Europe, and get to spend it with some of my classmates, and an educational trip for sure, but definitely some good sightseeing and all the stuff that we tourists like to do.
Now, you mentioned it that there's a while ago, but I'm going to put you on the spot here. What was your favorite meal while you were over there? Do you have one?
Oh, for sure. There's a Michelin star restaurant. I had seared duck and some of the best charcuterie I think I'll ever have, for sure.
Yeah, nice. I went there for my honeymoon. I remember exactly the meal I like. It was in Assisi. So I know that's one thing that always sticks out when you go to Italy. You mentioned Army West Point allows you to travel. You got the chance this past summer to go to San Jose. You were at the NASA Ames Research Center working with drones. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did with the drones and what you learned and what you liked about that trip?
Sure. Well, alongside with one of my fellow capstone member, we traveled out, as you said, to Mountain View, sort of in that sort of Silicon Valley area. So I worked at, it was at NASA. It was called the Aerospace Operations Lab. So essentially, what you're looking at is a bunch of big fancy screens and big fancy devices that sort of track. What we were doing was an unmanned traffic management system. So you're looking at how drones could work in a dense city such as Austin, Texas, San Francisco. So me and my partner, we got to work on a bunch of different projects. They were working on a field project in Austin, Texas, where they would fly around a bunch of different drones and see how they would work in conjunction with a traffic management system they had been working on. It's a system that had been in place since about 2015, and they're on the tail end of the project. It was really interesting to see sort of really the future of what traffic might be like and how it integrated into our studies, and it was a great experience for me.
Now you have a couple weeks left here finishing up your major. That major is engineering psychology. Tell the viewers a little bit about what that major entails and what the future holds for you with that.
Sure, it's a very, very uncommon area of study. Essentially, it aims to sort of streamline the relationship between man and machine. So we looked at anything from a user interface on an app to sort of any sort of project related to a machine, how it relates to humans. An example study for myself, my capstone this year, we're examining a cognitive effect known as the fan effect. It just sort of affects how we understand different concepts as they relate to other things. So if you think about it simply, if your keys are some in four different locations, it's going to be harder for you to remember that than if your keys are in two different spots. Sort of a basic idea, and all ranges of different topics are covered within that major.
Now you started out as an English major. That's because you have a love for reading and writing, as we kind of started out at the beginning of this interview. I noticed in your bio, I have to talk about this. I was a journalist before, working in newspaper, and you were your editor-in-chief at your high school newspaper. Talk a little bit about your times writing and how you're keeping up with writing right now.
Sure. Back in high school, the good old, it was known as the Peppo plant. It was sort of my pride and joy in high school. We did a lot of good stuff. I had my own movie review column. I was riding high. I was really feeling myself. But writing for me has really been something that I think I have a little bit of a talent for, and I've gotten to cultivate during my time at West Point. Sort of to sum it up, I got to write a great review of my time as an Army lacrosse player. Obviously, our time didn't cut short because of the coronavirus, but I got to sort of give my feelings for the team and really just tell everybody how I felt about it, in sort of in a method that I think I do best.
Well, thank you, Bennett, for taking the time out. I really appreciate it. And good luck moving forward with the major, and good luck moving forward with the Army. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.